Today we will start part 1 of the John Todd Tapes. It's 4 parts and it's a lot of information in here, so I took out all the key parts of the John Todd Tapes. What he was talking about in the 60s and 70s is still happening to this day. Now, this was way before the internet, way before YouTube or anything. This man was talking about this in the 60s and 70s. I just laid the evidence out. Hey, y'all take it and come up with your own opinion.
They have a term called homegrown Pentecostal. I guess homegrown Baptist would be just as fashionable. Well, I was a homegrown witch. From the time that I was 5 years old, I knew nothing but witchcraft. I would have known it sooner, but they didn't discuss it with me. They take you very, very young. And even before they start talking about the so-called positive aspects of witchcraft, they talk about the negative aspects of Christianity. So that being a Christian is a miracle, not because I wanted out of witchcraft, but that I would consider Christianity the only way out. Because they brainwash you from very early childhood that the Christian is the most evil being or creature in the universe. That he wants nothing more than to take the everyday witch out and shoot them, burn them, hang them, whatever he can do. And that they are the most hateful beings that ever existed, on the same level as maybe Adolf Hitler. So this is what I was raised up to believe. And my last name is Todd, but that was just changed about 60 years ago. Until then, our name was Collins. And the Collins family, my direct tree, was responsible, according to witchcraft history and a few history books that I can find also, with bringing witchcraft to the United States. So when I was 14, and some of you might consider that a very early age, but it wasn't. It was kind of a late age for this. I was initiated into organized witchcraft. In other words, I was made what Brother Rasmussen is. I was made a pastor, a minister. I was ordained. In fact, a few years later, when I went to enlistment service, I didn't have to go because I was drafted temp, because I was the ordained minister of a legal recognized church. But this is my background, and I want to say one thing before we start here for those that are newcomers. The organization that I came out of is a cult in religion, not in purpose. Its purpose is political and financial power, complete world rule through finance, which they believe would control the political atmosphere.
I want to show y'all how powerful these folks was back then, and show y'all how powerful these folks are now. Now, John Todd went to the military and caught a murder charge. I want him to tell you how he got out of this. Check this out.
And I enlisted and went through the service until I got into a little shooting incident in Germany. After I'd come back from Vietnam, I re-enlisted and went to Germany. And I was getting ready to be court-martialed. In fact, I had everything down pat. I was as good as gone. We had entered a plea of guilty for a deal of 35 years and then parole, and they wouldn't even consider it. An officer had been killed in the situation, and I was more or less just waiting to be transferred to Leavenworth to serve the time when the Witchcraft Church, which I thought was just a little group of people that I belonged to, sent a political member of that church, a state senator, 2 of them, state senator, a U.S. senator, and a representative over to Germany, and they took hold of the situation, and 24 hours later I was a civilian in the United States with all my time, rank, and an honorable discharge. And my court-martial records didn't exist anymore.
Who you think got the power to go get a man out of prison for a murder he already pled guilty to and make it go away? Or got the power to kill a man in a federal prison and make it look like a suicide?
He was a close confidant of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and a former French modeling agent facing charges of his own. Tonight, Jean-Luc Brunel is dead, found in his Paris prison cell hanged with his bed sheets, according to the Paris prosecutor's office. Authorities believe the 75-year-old died by suicide. It comes less than 3 years after Epstein was found dead in a Manhattan prison under similar circumstances. His death has been ruled a suicide.
And the officers, they said the camera was so happy to be turned the other way when he hung himself. But see, a lot of people in the comments ain't gonna believe that, and I say. So I'm gonna let John Todd tell you for himself.
Okay. Did everybody hear that question? Okay. He wants me to explain the Council of 13. I'll explain what that is, you're probably wondering. and what their purpose or thrust is. Okay. If you'll all, just give you a second, reach in your billfold, and put in the option plate later. Reach in your billfold and take out a $1 bill real quick. We'll settle the whole thing. I'll let you ask your federal government later how this got on the $1 bill. Okay. On the back of the $1 bill, you'll see the crest with the pyramid in it. Now, Dr. Rasmussen has upstairs the whole crest. You only have the words left out on the block. But there are sections. His is a little behind time. There's a few new organizations. His dates back to the 1800s. But that pyramid in the Illuminati consists of 3 pyramids and a sphinx, but their crest is this crest. The Illuminati is the occult organization that we belong to. It means the light bearer. The witches call it Mariah, the conquering wind. But it's the capstone above. The eye is Lucifer. The triangle of the capstone is the tribunal of the Rothschild family, which is called the Holy Family. They lead the Illuminati. They would be Paul, Peter, for the Catholics, all the saints and Mary and everybody rolled into one, and the Pope. They are the voice. The doctrine of the occult teaches that Lucifer comes and sits at their dining room table. When they see the table, they leave 13 chairs out, and the 13th one is for Lucifer to sit in himself. They set him a plate and everything. Now, I've been there in the mansion, and I've seen this go on. And they, in turn, direct to the top block of that pyramid. And that top block is the Council of 13 of the Grand Druid Council, which I was a member of. Now, the Druid system of government is not that the politicians run everything. It is the same system that Rome had. The priests let whoever wants to rule the government, but the priests must rule the ruler. Now, I'll let that sink on you for a while. And I want to throw this in. We'll cause a lot of controversy, I'm sure, but it's a fact. Since the time of Woodrow Wilson, including him, there has never been a president of the United States that was not an Illuminati, that did not belong. Now, that'll shatter a few people's ideas about a Christian president right now, but it's a fact anyway. And the Grand Druids, although they're just supposedly everyday people like me, you look at me now, I'm this way. I was a different way when I was in witchcraft. And part of my authority was whatever governors, senators, or political people were in my area took direct political orders from me, which I in turn did not think of, but simply translated to them in the orders that we got from London, from the Rothschild family. Now that's the Council of 13. The thrust is that when I left in 72, they had a chart that said in 8 years, they would have the whole world. And from remembering that chart, I haven't seen one thing through the news media not happen on schedule according to that chart.
He gets his orders from London, and he tells the politicians and stuff what to do and what to put in place. Okay, that brings me to Donald Trump. Now, I don't agree with a lot of stuff Donald Trump said, or a lot of stuff that he was saying, but Donald Trump went against the grain. Why y'all think they doing him like this? Y'all ain't never seen a president get done like this a day in your life. Guess what? Donald Trump was the only president to get banned from London. And that's our mother country in America. But a lot of folks don't pay attention to this stuff. And another thing that he said is a religious person that they all look up to, the Pope. And that's who they all look up to. I want to let y'all hear what he said about the Catholic Church. And y'all wonder why the Catholic Church always under investigation for pedophile, playing with little boys and stuff. I want to let y'all hear what he said about the Catholic Church. We're going to get into some more stuff.
The Catholic Church's altar, except for the Atame or the knife, is the exact altar of witchcraft. And according to the reports I can get on the Nicene Council, most of the ministers at the Nicene Council that set that heresy up were from the Temple of Diana, which is witchcraft. So, everything, the bell, the incense, the whole ritual, their holy water is salt water mixture. This comes from witchcraft, which they do exorcism with. Everything that they do comes out of witchcraft, and they can't get around it.
I don't know if y'all know this, but January is not really the first month of the year. I hope y'all know that January comes from Greek mythology and the god Janet. That's what January comes from. The god Janet means new beginning. I'm just trying to show y'all how they got their hands in everything and how it's all corrupt.
There are a few religions we can't prove physically belong to the organization, but we have seen funding go their way. Now, as I have done quite a bit of investigation since I was saved because of facts I heard when I was in Witchcraft, don't just look at obscene religions like Scientology, Jehovah's Witness, Mormonism. Look at even Christian churches within Bible-believing denominations. There was a couple, quote, Jesus people, garbage churches, that began a few years ago in LA, Costa Mesa, and so on. They had a few hundred kids. All of a sudden, the pastors move into $500,000 homes, and the churches are taking their offerings out in armored cars. Now, where did they get the funds to buy a $2 million building overnight? They were preaching gospel. Now they're preaching trash. One of them is responsible for the so-called Jesus rock that has ruined half of the good Christian young people today.
Okay, fam. Now think about some of the preachers that we see today. Now, another thing John Todd was talking about back then in the 70s is how these females go missing. What's been going on lately? A lot of females and young girls going missing, right?
12-year-old girls are victims, more or less. They've been known to get down to 10, but they usually start at 12 or 13 and go to 25. And for the people who like to hitchhike, this is how they pick them all up. And of course, the police will just tell the parents the kids run away from school. They use them for sexual and for sacrifice.
So they got the police working with them too. The LAPD, we already know about them. They've been creepy. But I want to get into some more stuff that he's talking about on this human sacrifices.
But there's a few here also that are in the human sacrifice, and they know I'm not mine. And when you get up into a higher level, 4th, 5th, or 6th, you find out that the power rests with blood sacrifice. You become what is called a human chalice. In other words, you are proving to Satan through the blood and the death of this person that you are so totally out to him, although they don't believe in it. So it does go on. And in fact, to become a 6th level witch, you must perform it. It's just like when they tell, now this is for the women, not the men, when they tell the young girls getting into witchcraft that homosexuality has nothing to do with witchcraft. In order to become a high priest, the girl must be bisexual and must perform a bisexual act. So see, every level you go to, they tell you a different story. And they tell you the people who all aren't ready to receive it. And so every step you go up the ladder, everything you've been told before is a lie, and all of a sudden you learn new truth. The only type of witches that are kind of ignorant, there are a couple of them here today, are the self-proclaimed witches, the ones who are practicing outside the organization on their own, and they think they know it all. They'll find out one of these days when an enforcer comes from the organization and tells them you either join or you die.
Y'all remember Aleister Crowley? That's the followers that Jay-Z followed, right? And you heard what he said, that's how you get the power, by human sacrifice. Notice, all the other people we done covered, they all sacrifice somebody, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? So think about it. And then, what you were saying about the young girls, what they using for? Now this the 7th, sexual acts, pedophiles, from 12 to 25. Come on, man. Now this man was talking about this in the 70s now. Now, there's a lot of stuff I can't say on YouTube, because they won't, they'll trip on the video and won't let it go up. But when y'all hear this, remember what Kanye and Kyrie Irving was talking about. When y'all hear this, go read Revelations chapter 2, verse 9, and Revelations chapter 3, verse 9. Y'all will get a better understanding of what's really going on.
It's a little ridiculous. I know I'm going to step on a few people's toes who have read about the Illuminati, but he asked me what part Zionism played in the Illuminati. Rothschild and a few people in the Illuminati were born Jews, but they're not Jews. And they might have some ties with Zionism, bloodline, but the organization itself has nothing to do with Judaism at all. It is totally 100% Druid occult. And that's the purpose. In fact, the reason that the Rothschilds even still reside in London is because England is considered to the witches the same as Palestine is considered to us. It is the Holy Land. You take pilgrimages there. You stop off and kiss the stones on the Rothschild mansion for luck, and so on and so forth. If by some chance you happen to meet a Rothschild and he gives you a blessed sign or a blessed bee, then your whole life is set. It's that type of nature. But it has nothing to do. There is an interesting thing, though, I'd like to throw in. A lot of witches do wear the thing called the Star of David. David was long dead before that star was ever drawn. His son drew it. And it's called the hexagram. The word to curse, the hex, comes from the hexagram. And when witches practice magic, they draw a 5-pointed star to stand in, and they call demons up in the evil sign, what we call the Star of David. So before Christians start tying it around their neck, that's called the demon star, or the death star.
Now, like I said, go back if you didn't get what he was saying. Listen to that, and then go read Revelations, chapter 2, verse 9, Revelation, chapter 3, verse 9. Now, a lot of folks don't say that the Illuminati still doesn't exist. And I want y'all to pay attention to what he said they changed their name to.
The Illuminati name's not used much anymore, except by everyday people who find out about it. Witches don't use it. The organization doesn't use it. And each country has the Mariah is the occult part, and the political part has a name in each country. In the United States, it's called the Council of Foreign Relations. That's mainly how they got into it. They mainly got into it because you can't become a president. You may think you elect a president, but I'm here to tell you, you elect whoever they put up.
Ain't that going on now? We always wondering how people get in office and how he win. I want to put something else that he was talking about, how he controlled 13 states. I mean, the drugs and everything in 13 states.
But we sat there, and for 6 months I learned the political structure and the history of witchcraft. And then I was taken to Colorado, and I was placed through an initiation into the 6th realm. And this initiation consisted of a blood sacrifice. And from then on, I was given a territory of 13 states. This didn't happen to be one of them. It belonged to my foster mother. But I was in charge of all the occult, political, and drug activity in 13 states. This is where I was in 1972 when I met the Lord.
You heard what he said he was in charge of in 13 states? Now, it's just one person that's with these people, or who used to be with these people, I should say. Now, I want to play something else. What he says, who you trying to get at, the Illuminati.
According to the young people decide that witchcraft is a ruby thing, they will tell you can get out anytime you want. But once you're in, there's a bounty on your head if you ever leave. And I don't care if you're 13 or 14 years old, the bounty starts at $10,000 and they send a professional. They don't send an everyday person. If you're wondering why I'm still alive, it isn't easy. I've got the bullet holes in the buildings and the bombed out buildings and everything else. The record, and I'm saying that Jesus kept us alive in every situation. You don't walk into a building that blows up in your face and walk back out without a scratch on you, unless the Lord is there to protect you.
Have y'all noticed a trend? Everybody who talks out on this, either their careers fail or something happens. Now, remember this is 1972, but I'm going to show y'all on some stuff he was talking about that's going on right now today that you will see in the news.
But the energy crisis is going to be the reason for the war, for the Third World War. It is their main objective. They believe through the energy crisis they will gain control of the world.
Now, bam. Now, ain't that what been going on in the news? Energy crisis. Now, I'm going to get into something else that he was talking about in 1970s that's going on right now.
Now, the new Gun Control Act, and the reason I'm on this about guns is their timetable will never work if individuals are allowed to buy guns. This is one of their main objectives to get rid of. If you'll notice, England's a prime example of it.
All these mass shootings, y'all don't find that weird? And the main thing they try to do is get rid of the guns. Come on, like England, don't nobody got a gun. The police don't have a gun. The civilian can't have a gun. I think only the SWAT team are the only people with guns over there. So, a lot of stuff that he's talking about back in the 70s, like I said, is going on right now. And I'm gonna be honest, this is just part one I'm breaking down. It's like 4 of these tapes, and I'm gonna break all of them down, and I'm gonna explain everything that we were talking about then is going on now. But this is Boogaloo Jones. This is part one of the John Todd Tapes, and I'm out.